Welcome back to Stephen K. Da Silva Ministries. And today is the first day of December, so we're on our way, running from first to second base. If those of you who know what I'm talking about, I'm referring back to a season, a little process we're working through between before Thanksgiving and after Thanksgiving. And our goal, before Thanksgiving and after the new year. And our goal is to measure our debt level over those two periods of time. And we're working through some of the key pieces of information that really helps a person build altitude. Now, last time, our last video, we spoke a little bit about altitude. We're going to come back to that today on altitude and build it further, but I'm just going to let a couple minutes go by while I let a few more of you folks jump on. Thanks so much for those of you who are already there, right on the button. I appreciate that. While we're waiting, I want to just cover a couple of little administrative things. The first thing is don't forget to keep your money captive. Last time we talked, that was on November 27th, we talked about taking captivity your money and to put some in your wallet and not allow it out for any purpose. I've been getting a lot of feedback on that. It's a ton of fun, and I appreciate you guys commenting on how it's going. Please do that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out the November 27th, 2017 video, and that will explain what I mean by a captive 20. Here's another thing just to throw out. I'm excited to announce that I am closing in on some details around a live event here in Reading, and we don't have prices quite figured out. Our online registration isn't done yet, but right now we do have plans for a Prosperous Home live course. It's going to be January 29th, January 19th and 20th. And we picked early January because our goal is to get the Prosperous Home information working in your life for anyone who's in the area and wants to attend that. Now, we will have online registrations coming up soon, so don't worry, you'll see that probably in my Facebook, or I'll put it in my newsletter. We'll make sure that you know about it, but I just want you to know that there are some opportunities coming for you to get this content firsthand and personally, but also in a contiguous concept where you can move from page to page through your Prosperous Home content. All right, let's get going. The subject is the idea of altitude. And last time I referred to altitude as a wonder. The wonders of altitude. The reason I call it a wonder is because it gives you time to manipulate and manage your life in case an engine fails. Now imagine an airplane flying along at 10 or 15,000 feet. If there's some kind of trouble on that plane, it gives them time as that plane coasts to solve the problem. If that plane is only 100 feet off the ground and some kind of problem happens, that plane is instantly in trouble, and there is no way for them to manage or adjust before they hit the ground. So really, altitude is the key, and your home is like a airplane. I used this illustration last video. Your home is like an airplane, and you are a pilot, and you are learning how to drive your airplane higher. You're not trying to lower it or crash it. You're trying to gain altitude so you can get over the top of those unexpected events in life and even some of the expected events in life. Now, as a pilot, I came up with this simple illustration that the dashboard in front of you, in other words, managing the finances of your home can be very complicated, like looking at the myriad dashboard switches and dials that are on the board in front of you. How many decisions are necessary to run a home? It's endless. But here we are focusing on the simplest things. There are really two key dials or instruments that you need to understand as a successful pilot of your prosperous home. Those two dials are the balance sheet and the income statement. Now, the balance sheet is what we're going to talk about today, because the balance sheet is where altitude is measured. The income statement is something that we will talk about many times later. It's a very important part that measures the inflows and outflows of a prosperous home. But the income statement thinking is common in the poor and the middle class, because the poor only survive on what they have in their hand, what their income is. The middle class do the same. The only advantage a middle class person has is probably the upward capacity to increase the amount of inflows. But the bottom line is they're both dependent on how much comes in the door. This is not the way the wealthy think. They think on a balance sheet. They think about altitude, and they want to know how to protect their altitude, and if their altitude falls, how to reduce or slow the descent. So we're going to talk more about that right now, and we're going to use a very, very simple method so that no one listening needs to worry that they're not qualified to manage their home or to manage money. You see, that's a really common lie that people wrestle with. Some of us are very skilled and gifted with numbers, and others of us are not, thank God. You see, if you're a creative type, don't be afraid right now that you are not qualified to learn about these ideas of balance sheet and income statement. You are totally qualified and maybe even more capable because you have creativity on your side. So let's push forward and let's start with the most simple possible way to present a balance sheet. It's this simple math problem of plus, minus, and equals. We're all familiar with this from our kindergarten lessons. Plus, minus, and equals. You see, if I have a 1 minus 0, it equals 1. So if I add more to this formula, 2 minus 0 equals 2. So I've just gone from an equal sign of 1 to 2. Now what we're going to do is simply develop this one step further. And that is that what you own goes on top and what you owe goes on the bottom. Now for many of you, you're way more qualified and trained and sophisticated that this is very, very basic. But I want you to just watch and see some things that you may not have realized. The rest of you, I want you to just allow yourself to accept this. You can manage your balance sheet as simply as this formula. What you own minus what you owe equals altitude. So if you're a person that owns $1,000, but you owe $1,000 to a credit card company, let's say, 1,000 minus 1,000 equals an altitude of 0. You are an airplane, but you're parked at the airport. You're still on the ground, right? If you own 2,000, but you owe 1,000, that represents 1,000 feet of elevation. 2,000 minus 1,000 equals 1,000. That's all there is to it. And what you can do to grow your altitude is simply pay attention or think about the balance sheet rather than your spending and inflows. You see, if we look to spending and inflows, which is the income statement, if we think that way, we can make some really poor decisions. We can make these because we are basing our decisions on how much money is flowing in. One of the most simple examples is a person buying a car. Now, this person needs to buy a car. Let's give them that. And they have decided that they are going to go shopping for a new car. Because they're income statement minded, they're going to make the decision on the vehicle of choice, based upon how much how much payment their income can support. Imagine you go to a used car or a new car dealership and you're looking at this new car to buy. You're going to meet the salesman and they're going to ask you some questions about what you want. They're going to fit you with a vehicle that fits your desires. And then they're going to take you into the back office and find out how much money you have. Probably they're going to ask you to prove what your income stream is. You're going to show them a W-2 or a pay stub. When they see that pay stub, that will determine how much your income can sustain for payments. And they're going to put you in a loan and a car, or they're going to lease you a vehicle based upon the size of your income. Well, the problem with this idea is, imagine you do this arrangement and buy a brand new car. And you find out that you are able to buy this brand new car because your income can sustain it. But you start this brand new car and you drive it off the lot. And the minute you go over the curb, this car moves from a new car to a used car. And what happens? The value falls. But if you borrowed money to buy the car, the loan did not shrink. So this is an example of what you own falling in value compared to what you owe does not fall in value. This is why often it makes more sense to buy a car that is already used enough to reduce that initial new car value. So let's take this formula one step further. What you own is called your assets, and what you owe is called your debts. But what you may not know is the difference equals net worth, and the difference is the altitude. Now imagine a person with $1,000 in assets minus $1,000 in debts. What is their altitude? It's 0. Now imagine this person with assets of $1 million. And imagine their debts also at $1 million. This is a person that has lots of assets around them, $1 million in value. They might have cars, homes, apartment buildings. They could have airplanes, boats, and motorcycles. They could have all sorts of assets that make up that $1 million in what they own. But if they owe $1 million to get all of that, they are still sitting on the ground. This is what it means, going back to the idea of a dashboard. If this is the cockpit of an airplane and you are the pilot, you can fly two different ways. You can fly by looking through the window, or you can fly by reading your instruments. Last time we said that looking through your window only works when the skies are clear and when it is daylight. It does not work when night falls or when clouds come and it becomes whiteout or zero visibility. It is true that when it comes to money, you are always flying at night and in a storm. Looking through your windshield is like looking at your checkbook. It's looking to see how much cash do I have, or how many assets are around me. It's what people see. And when people manage their altitude by what they see instead of what they read in their instruments, they can fall into a trap of this $1 million in assets, and yet their debts minus $1 million still keep them on the ground. If you want to get altitude, to get over the objects of your life, you need to get more assets than debts. And one way to do that is by shifting your mindset from an income statement, income outflow, how much do I make, therefore that's how much I spend, changing your mindset from that idea to one of a balance sheet, one who thinks about assets minus debts equals net worth, or what I own minus what I owe equals my altitude. Now, what happens if we have an example of a person with $1,000 of assets minus 0 debts equals $1,000 of altitude? We have a case where the plane is rising. We have an airplane. It's easy to think of that when the net worth is positive. But what happens if your net worth is negative? What happens if your assets are 1,000, but your debts are 2,000? Well, do the math. 1,000 minus 2,000 equals a submarine. Yeah? Sure, you have negative net worth. Is that possible? Of course it is. In fact, many, perhaps most, Americans today have, in fact, created themselves into a submarine, and they continue to sink. By shifting your mindset from the income statement spending to a balance sheet orientation, thinking about assets minus debt equals altitude, and protecting your altitude is how you turn from a submarine into an airplane. And you can do it on $1. Now that I will have to take to another video, how to change from $1. What I want to do today to close this session is preempt an anxiety that rises up in people when they first look at their balance sheet. When you first look at your numbers and you find out that your assets are some number minus your debts of a bigger number, and you result in a net worth altitude that is very small, smaller than you feel it should be, or even negative. Anxiety, hopelessness, despair, lots of painful emotions can arise. But this is not a place for that. Prosperous Soul and Stephen K. De Silva Ministries is built on solving that problem, about making you a master of your money and not a slave to it. You see, if you have any kind of emotion like that, what you are doing is discovering a financial lie. You are tapping that raw nerve down inside your heart that is afraid or despairing or believes that it's hopeless. There's lots of lies we can pick up, and we have talked about how to remove these lies in previous videos. We've talked about it in the context of a tool I use called Financial Sozo. If you don't know what this tool is, look it up on my site. The cover of that manual looks like this. Now, I'm not trying to sell you product. I'm trying to assure you that there are answers to these things that rise up and cause you to continue to perpetuate or procrastinate or even despair. You can totally do this. I'm telling you that because I know I've done it myself. I've helped thousands of people break through these lids, and this is your time. This is your chance to do the same. So here is your prosperous home assignment from now until next time we meet. What I want you to do is go and take this formula into your own numbers. But I want you to do it in 10 minutes or less. You see, we're not going to get really detailed at this point. We are simply learning how to use the math, how to use the information. And if the math creates anxiety, take it to the Lord and let Him handle your fears. Give Him those fears. Put them in His hands. He can handle your problems. If you need more help, get a financial sozo, okay? Look me up or find one of my people that I've trained. They're all around the world. Find some of those people and get yourself free. Don't tolerate it anymore. So here's the homework assignment. Number 1, you're going to estimate total assets. Just find a number that feels like that is what I own. Don't spend more than 2 or 3 minutes, because the next step is to do the same estimation on the amount you owe. Now, a lot of people do not look at what they owe because they are so afraid. But we talked about this. You see, the back scaffolding, the framework of a prosperous home is based first on discovery and then holes, bank, and debt. This is the step of discovery. When the pilot is in the plane and the plane is falling out of the sky, the first thing that pilot needs to do is open his eyes. He can't hide. You can't hide from the fact your plane is either climbing or falling. You need to see what it is. And then we can make adjustments. We can navigate this plane up from down. But first, you have to look. If looking scares you, get a financial sozo. Go to prayer. Find a friend or a mentor and get over it. Get over it, friends. Let's get this done. You can do it, and you can do it well. In fact, you can do it in 10 minutes. So what we're going to do, number 1, figure out an estimate on your own assets. Put the number down. If it needs to change later, we'll change it. Right now, just estimate what that is. Number 2, estimate what you owe, and then take the 2, subtract the debts, and come up with what you think is your net worth. It's just an estimate, and it cannot take more than 10 minutes. All right? God bless you guys. Thanks for watching, and God bless your prosperous souls. Cut. All right. God bless you guys. You can bounce if you need. I'm just going to do some hellos and look at who's online. Thanks so much, guys, for coming. It's great to see you. Lisa, thanks so much for watching, friend. I really appreciate when you come. Tom's watching. Hey, my friend, thanks for coming. Wayne, I appreciate you online, and Christina, and Tomiko. All fun to have you guys. Jane, I haven't seen you in a long time. Thanks for coming and joining online. It's great to hear from you. I really appreciate Jane and her hubby. Let's see, who else we got here? We have some comments. I have the older manual and the book. This is Wayne in a comment. He says, I'm working through them slowly. Are they significantly different in content or just updated? Yeah, what Wayne is talking about is a version of Prosperous Home that is earlier and has a white cover. I think that's right, Wayne, if that's what you're asking about. And, yeah, and the book. Yeah, so I have Prosperous Home issued in a white version and a blue version. If you have the old white version, it's fundamentally the same. All the tools are there, but I didn't like how I was communicating. So I rewrote it and built it out. Volume 1, that is now the blue copy behind me, that is the replacement to the old white version. And when I wrote the replacement, I realized, wow, I'm going to need to move this from 1 volume to 4. Now, it's possible Wayne is talking about a different cover that looks like this with a tree. Let me grab this. This is a book I've written. If I can get this back in my ear. This is a book I wrote in 2013, and I'm really proud. This is endorsed by Dave Ramsey. You can see it right there. So I've got some fabulous endorsements inside this book. It's a terrific book. But this book and a companion manual, which is the same cover, only it's larger, those two products might be what Wayne is talking about. Those two products with the green tree are actually the subject of Prosperous Soul. And Prosperous Soul is the subject that talks about the heart issues of money and how to handle a growing capacity in your life so that money becomes your slave, not your master. That content is spiritual, philosophical, doctrinal, and conceptual. There's not many practical elements in Prosperous Soul because it's dealing with the heart. Prosperous Home, or the blue cover, what we are talking about today, is the practical application of Prosperous Soul brought into your home. Eventually, this series of videos will move past the home and into enterprise, which is the business application of Prosperous Soul, which is this green tree product. I hope that makes sense. If anyone has more questions, I'll try to answer that better, either in text, email, or maybe in a future video. All right, God bless you guys. I'm going to let you go, and this is Friday. Oh, I hope you have some great plans. I hope your weekend is awesome and full of just fun and relaxation and health. I pray that in Jesus' name, and I bless your prosperous homes. God bless you. See you later. Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching. I'm Stephen K. De Silva, and you're probably wondering, why have I never heard this information before? Well, now you can by going up into this corner and subscribing to this channel. Or you can go to this corner and watch the next video. There is tons of information I'm giving you. Go check it out and go deeper. Or better yet, go to the link below and go check out my website. I've got some free stuff on there. Go get that and go see lots of resources so you can finally master your money. Hey, I gotta go record another video. I'll see you soon. Bye.